This is a keynote whistle. It's a whistle that's often used in an orchestra to set the tone with the first note so everyone is playing the same tune. I've been asked to give the opening keynote, and so my job is to set that tune about what this event is all about. And I was asked to talk about why we're here today and sort of the trends that are happening around the world. I am a trends expert. I run a trends consultancy in New York City, and we work with companies and destinations around the globe to help them understand what's trending, what's happening in the world, what visitors want, and what destinations are doing in response to that. When we talk about trends, specifically what we mean is sustained changes in numbers or attitudes in any measurable direction. So when you can start to see a group of people moving in a particular direction, visiting a particular place, wanting something special in tourism, these are trends that we track. We've just heard how amazing the Greek tourism industry is doing. You look at charts, the number of tourist arrivals is just fantastic, and of course, just keeps going up. So it's the great story of the Greece economy is, one of the great stories is travel and tourism that's pumping that up. And behind that, as we heard, there are so many things that are important. For example, the employment industry. It said, now over 26% of people in Greece are working in tourism, which also, of course, brings its own challenges as well. But you can see, as far as Europe goes, it's far and above most countries. So it all sounds really great. Why are we here? What are the challenges? It will come as no surprise to any of you that when you have such a great success, that it also brings challenges that need to be managed. And these challenges are not specific to Greece. I'm here as a trends expert to talk about the trends that are happening around the world and show you how what's happening in Greece is very much aligned with what we're seeing everywhere else in the world. And when tourism rises unchecked without balances coming from the government and business, it's bringing with it a lot of challenges as well. One of the biggest, just of course, being harm to citizens' quality of life, harder to walk in the streets. But it also, and this is a slide from Barcelona. This is a slide from Italy where it's brought degradation to the environment, to beaches that are being trashed. This is a slide from Egypt where there's been damage to heritage sites because they're not taking care of it enough. And unfortunately, it also means that there's going to be challenges about the reputation that countries can suffer. And this is a slide from Greece, from the famous beach that has the shipwreck on it. This is a picture that went around the world on social media. Not good for the reputation, of course. These are just some of the challenges, and then, of course, other problems that many cities have had is social unrest that has come because of this. This is in Barcelona, sort of most famously. There were a lot of citizens who were on the streets who were complaining about how tourism is negatively impacting them. This is a slide from Dublin, Ireland, where they're specifically complaining about Airbnb making the expenses so high for the places where they're living. So you can see it's really a worldwide issue. But it's also about reputation and managing the destination so that visitors want to come here for the long future. And shockingly, there's now brands, big travel brands, like Fodor's, which is one of the biggest travel brands in the United States, which is publishing now an international no list of places that they're suggesting that visitors do not travel because it's hurting the environment or it's It's not good for the people who are there. These are some of the places that are listed in the 2023 list: Normandy, Lake Tahoe, Antarctica, Venice, Cornwall, England. So when we look at international tourism arrivals over the last decade or decades, tourism is just going in one direction. It's going up. It's fantastic. In 2012, it passed 1 billion international tourist arrivals, and it will continue to be like this. This is the trend for the rest of our careers. Amazingly, in the last 10 or 12 years, tourism is doubling. And that issue, it's a huge problem or issue or great thing also for destinations around the world, but especially for Greece. When you look at Greek numbers, if you look at what's happening in the 10 years or so between 2019 and 2030, you actually have to go up to another page to see that the number of tourist arrivals expected is more than 71%. So, this is the reason that this conference is happening now. It's happening at the perfect time, because to manage tourism is not something you can do at the last minute. It's something that must be done in advance. And when you see the difference of projections in tourism over the next decade or so in Greece, it's growing so much that it's so important to have everybody be involved in this conversation. It's a conversation that needs to take place between governments and industry and citizens. And this is what I'm here to show you, that this is the trend that's happening around the world. This is what countries and destinations are doing in a positive way to make tourism great for everybody. Because the idea is that when tourism is good for citizens, it's good for the tourists as well. It's good for everybody. The second challenge that's part of what's happening is not just visitor numbers, but the fact that the world is growing richer. And what this shows is that basically between 2020 and 2030, the images in black are the super rich, and then the images in white are middle class. But both of these are rising to become much bigger in the next 10 years. And it's a bigger spend, not just in the way in tourism, but in life in general. Because tourism is not in a bubble. Tourism is part of the way people are living their lives and spending money. And so what this means is when people are growing richer, their expectations for what they want in their lives also grow. And this is another challenge for tourism about meeting these new expectations that the wealthier travelers are bringing with them. So the 10-year challenge for governments and business and communities and societies and destinations are really twofold. One is this rise in visitor numbers over the next decade, and the rise in visitor wealth and sophistication and what they're looking for. So what we're going to speak about today, and what I'm going to mention a little bit right now, is what's trending in response to these issues. So first, what's trending in response to visitor numbers? It's different in countries and destinations around the world. If you look at what's happening in Holland, they're taking a very drastic response, and they are looking to limit the number of airplanes that can arrive at Schiphol Airport. They're having lawsuits about this now, but the parts of the government is trying to just limit visitor numbers and say, that's it, we've had enough. If you go to Barcelona and you look at how Barcelona is marketing itself, they've decided that they are not going to market specific places in Barcelona. What they're going to market instead is experiences that people can have. And the idea is to nudge people away from wanting to go to specific places and instead push them towards having specific experiences and distributing tourists in that way. Another thing Barcelona is doing is they're physically rerouting streets. So they're changing street plans into what they're calling their superblock models, so that they're routing cars and buses around pedestrian areas, again, to make it easier for people to walk around. Very famously, I think probably all of you are familiar with the fact that Venice has banned big cruise ships from coming in to the center of Venice. In Dublin, Ireland, they are setting specific rules for Airbnb. What they're doing specifically there is they're saying that you can rent out your apartment on Airbnb, but for no longer than 90 days in a calendar year. So that's the way they've decided to limit that. Interestingly, in Amsterdam, what they've decided is they said, in the center of Amsterdam, we're not going to allow any more tourist shops because the tourist shops are taking over so that the people who are living in Amsterdam don't have a place to shop for food and have their laundry done. We're going to limit the tourist shops. In Dubrovnik, Croatia, they've decided that they're going to limit the number of tourists who can be in a tour group to 8 people, which is an interesting idea because it also really helps the tour guides themselves. They're going to need more tour guides to show tourists around so that you're not going to have these giant tour groups around. And very interestingly, if you look at Bhutan, they've taken a very unique perspective to charge a lot of money to visit the country, either up to $250 a day to visit the country is their way of limiting how many people will be there. Now, of course, Greek tourism is involved in this as well, and what we've seen trending in Greek tourism are basically 3 things: increase the number of attractive destinations to bring tourists, or hopefully nudge tourists away from the main places that they've been going, encourage visits outside of summer months, and improve and expand tourism infrastructure, which is something that we're seeing happening in destinations really around the globe. It's an excellent start. And in the tourism industry, many of you may realize that there's something called a DMO, and traditionally, the DMO's job has been the destination marketing organization to bring people in and promote the destination. And what we're seeing trending around the world is that this idea of DMO is changing from destination marketing organization to destination management organization, which is another term that DMO is morphing into. The second part that I talked about is this idea of rising visitor wealth and sophistication. So I want to just say a word about what's trending around the world with that. The main thing that we're seeing is that destinations are realizing that their competition is not just other destinations. They're taking a step back and looking at themselves from the perspective of the traveler. And what they're seeing is that the traveler is comparing them to everything else, to really best-in-class businesses around the world, IKEA, BMW, Starbucks, Amazon. And they're saying when, consumer trends don't operate in a bubble. It's not as if people are looking for one sort of consumer experience in one part of their lives, but then when they're traveling, it's something completely different. No, it's part and parcel of the way that we expect to live, and travelers' expectations are being formed outside of the travel industry from these other best-in-class organizations. And so when you look at what travelers are looking for, and especially as travelers become more wealthy, you see these sorts of things: quality, unique experiences, and again, not just in travel and tourism, but all around. Now, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. One way that we are all being trained, all of us, and especially visitors, and I would say especially visitors from the United States, which is a major part of the visitors that are coming to Greece, is we're expecting to get things immediately, faster, answers right away, because we're being trained by companies like Amazon, which has this one-click buying idea. The idea is that you can buy something online on Amazon with one click. It's fast and easy. Now, imagine comparing that to a travel experience in Greece. The people are expecting one click, quick and easy, how does that compare with the experiences that are being offered in Greece? And because Americans think if you have to click 2 times, it's too much. I'm not going to bother with it. Which seems funny, except that Domino's Pizza just came out with 0-click ordering. Yeah, it's true, because this is the way the world is moving faster. The way the 0-click ordering works, by the way, is the first time you use their app, you open up the Domino's app and you order whatever you want, 2 pizzas, a Coca-Cola. And then after that, every time you want something, all you do is you open the app, and if you do nothing for 30 seconds after that, it puts in the order for you. We're seeing more and more, especially in countries outside of Greece, who are your customers, that people are looking and expecting sales and support 24/7 by many different ways: calling, texting, emailing, messaging. This is sort of the expectations. So this is the idea that I'm talking about, where people are growing richer and they're becoming more sophisticated and they're looking for these services and facilities to be answering what they want in tourism as well as outside. And there are tons of these. I mean, I've given presentations for days about the kinds of things that consumers are looking for. So when it comes to trends and why we're all here is because we're here to understand that we're at this important point in the history of Greek tourism where the trend is about destination stewardship organizations. And stewardship means taking care of what you have and doing it right and bringing everybody involved, the government, the companies, everyone in the country is part of the destination stewardship organization. I've showed you a bunch of ways that destinations around the world are answering this. Clearly, it's not one size fits all. There's something different for every organization. And Greece will have to find its own way of what's the best way to be the best stewards of Greek tourism. And it's a gift for you all to be here and for me to be here, to be a part of this very beginning of creating what that will look like in the next 10 years. So thank you very, very much, and I hope you great success. Thank you.